Hello. I wanted to spend today talking about what all the hype is about vitamin D. Vitamin D has become incredibly popular. Everyone's talking about it. It's very, very en vogue. And why is that? Well, what we discover is that vitamin D is fundamental to our overall health and well-being. It is an essential component for us to be living our vibrant, healthy, happy lives. Before I start to delve into everything that is vitamin D, I wanted to reflect on how incredible our bodies are. They are always working for us, and they're always trying to strive for health 100% of the time. Our bodies are designed to self-heal, self-regulate, and self-organise. I think that's remarkable, and this all happens without us really having to give that much conscious thought. Our health is, however, influenced for sure by the way in which we interact with our environment and how we live our lives, or how we choose to live our lives. So there are certainly fundamental building blocks that will help influence how our healing capabilities are, how healthy we are, how vibrant we can be. And most of us know what those are, but I thought I'd just tap on a few. Quite literally, what we eat will contribute to your health and well-being. There are so many foods that will imbibe health, and that likewise there are so many foods that will promote inflammation in the body and therefore a lack of health. So what we put into our bodies really does matter. It's really important to think about food as fuel. That's how I like to think about it. How is this helping my body be its most vital and healthy self? Our mindset absolutely influences our health and well-being. I'm reading an incredibly wonderful book by Mate Gabor, which is called The Myth of Normal. And it really delves into the devastating effects of a poor mindset on our health and well-being, and gives so many different examples of this. And I think we know this inherently, that this is the truth, but it really does matter what we choose to focus on and put our attention on. It kind of matters whether we have purpose in life, whether we have vim and vigour or zest for life. When we get up in the morning, do we feel like we are contributing to life of ourselves, of our family, of others? This kind of matters too, and it definitely contributes to our overall health and well-being. And I would say, as a chiropractor, probably one of the most important things is ensuring that your nervous system is functioning interference-free, so that it can perceive its environment as clearly and as effectively as possible, because it is the nervous system that controls all our bodily functions, and therefore is inherent to that natural self-healing, recuperating ability. Our nerve system being the brain and the spinal cord, which of course is housed within our skull and our spinal column. So making sure that our body and our brain, if you like, is perceiving its environment accurately allows us to have an appropriate thought, behaviour, output that helps with our overall health and well-being. Now, let's get back to vitamin D. So, obviously, we do understand that vitamin D is essential to our overall health and well-being. It's a really important vitamin. Interestingly enough, that's really hard for our body to convert and utilise, which is why probably there is a lot of hype about it at the moment. Vitamin D is known for its how it contributes to building strong teeth and bones in our skeletal system. It's also been found in the research to be pivotal to do with our cardiovascular health, our endocrine health, so our hormones, our brain health. And what I really want to delve into today, it is absolutely pivotal with regards to our immune health. So building strong immunity, being able to ward off or fight off bacteria and viruses and illnesses, vitamin D is really, really important to that. Worryingly, many of us, particularly in the southern hemisphere, do run low on vitamin D. In fact, many of us are actually deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually something that needs to be measured if you want to be accurate in whether you are low in vitamin D or not. And it's measured in nanomoles per litre. So essentially, we want to be above 80. Most of us run lower than 80. And if we're below 50, that means we're really, really, really deficient. But essentially, it's important to make sure we're always putting ourselves in a situation that is giving us free access to vitamin D. So how do we produce it? Well, interestingly enough, we need sunlight. We need direct sunlight onto the skin, which helps our body convert it into vitamin D that is usable for all those important bodily functions. It's complex. In order for our body to make vitamin D, it needs direct sunlight on the skin for a certain amount of time every single day. And then there's several complex processes that occur in the body for the body to be able to utilize it in a way that is useful. So that's one way, and that's the easiest way of getting our vitamin D. Another way is through our diet, but funnily enough, when we ingest it, the conversion of that ingested form through to vitamin D is quite complex, and it's not as efficient way of getting our vitamin D. But the foods that we would need to eat or need to concentrate on are fatty fish, so salmon, mackerel, sardines, tuna, and also egg yolks, a really good form of vitamin D. As well as a few other foods. Some of our foods are actually already fortified with vitamin D because we do know it's really important. So I just wanted to say how tricky it is for vitamin D to be produced in the body. But obviously one of the critical points from a chiropractic point of view is in order for our body to be able to make that conversion effectively, we would need a nerve system that's able to work unimpeded. So making sure your nervous system is free of interference is going to help with that conversion and help with the body being able to utilize that sunlight or those foods in a way that promotes that vitamin D conversion. In chiropractic, we talk about how nature needs no help. It just needs no interference. So keeping your nervous system free of interference is really, really, really pivotal so that we can perceive our environment accurately and therefore utilize our vitamin D. Now, it's interesting because we live here in New Zealand, we have a great big gaping hole in our ozone just above us. So it means that our sun is quite harsh. And so it's about really balancing getting direct sunlight with also not causing damage from the sun and the detrimental effects from too much sunlight. So unfortunately, we have all learned that we need to protect our skin from the sun, and that probably has a negative impact on our vitamin D levels actually, because we are often, particularly with our children, we're putting sunscreen on them, and it doesn't seem to matter whether it's winter or summer, but we're encouraging everyone to wear sunscreen or cover up. So even though we might be getting outside into direct sunlight, we're not actually getting the benefits of that direct sunlight through to the body for the body to be able to convert our vitamin D. So it is a bit of a problem. So we would consider that a bit of an interference. And it's really interesting. In the summer months, we actually need daily between 6 to 8 minutes of direct sunlight onto our skin. And obviously we don't want to be doing that in the middle of the day. So we need to be doing that before sort of 10 o'clock in the morning and after 4 o'clock at night. That would be ideal. And that would be able to produce enough vitamin D daily in order for our body to be able to utilise that. Now, if it's winter, between April and September in the Southern Hemisphere, we would need to be actually in direct sunlight for up to 30 minutes a day. That's a long time. And obviously making sure we're not burning at the same time. So another way that we can get our vitamin D is through supplementation. And it's fairly easy to be able to supplement with vitamin D. And the recommended dose is usually 1,000 IUs, international units, for an adult, and for a child between 400 and 600. So what happens when we don't have enough vitamin D? Well, one of the big impacts is our immunity suffers. So we tend to be more prone to colds and flus and respiratory tract infections. We don't tend to heal very well if we cut ourselves or we have wounds. And it really does tend to impact our ability to be able to heal and recover. We tend to have more inflammation in the body. We tend to also, it affects our mood quite dramatically actually. If we run low on vitamin D, it is very quick to cause us to have low mood. which, as we know, with all the stresses around, particularly over the last 3 years, having high levels of vitamin D is going to promote that. So there is lots of research that actually talks when we have significantly low levels of vitamin D, it's linked to many cancers: breast, prostate, lung, thyroid. It's linked to autoimmune diseases, things like SLE or lupus, thyroid, autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. It definitely affects our brain health. Alzheimer's, it's also been linked with depression, and it can cause many inflammatory diseases. So in children, we've also seen through the research that it can be linked to higher incidence of asthma, which is a big problem here in New Zealand, and also eczema. So we can see how important it is to help our bodies to be able to convert our vitamin D so that we can have health and vitality always. It's an important time of year to be talking about vitamin D because we do want to help bolster our vitamin D levels at this time of year. Now that the sun is not so harsh, I would suggest get out there into the sunshine. Make sure you have your nervous system clear of interference so it can convert that vitamin D with efficiency. We always recommend during winter months, particularly if there's any kind of health challenges or health expressions, an extra tune up here and there really helps to bolster immunity as well. Keeping that nervous system free directly relates to immune function. So get outdoors, enjoy the sunshine, and keep tuned up.